Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is part 59 of SQL Server video series. In this video, we will discuss about subqueries in SQL Server. Let's understand subqueries with an example. Let's flip to SQL Server Management Studio. First, let's look at the tables that we will be using to understand subqueries. TBL products table contains product related information like ID of the product, which is also going to act as the primary key for this table, the name of the product and its descriptions. TBL product sales table contains product sales data. Every time we sell a product, an entry will be made into this table. This table contains information like ID, which is going to act as a primary key for this table. Product ID, the ID of the product that we sold. At what unit price did we sell? And how much quantity did we sell? This insert script inserts some sample data into these two tables. Let's examine this sample data that we already have. In this table. So if you look at the data in TBL product table, there are three products: 1, 2, 3, TV, laptop, desktop, and TBL product sales table contains sales data. Pay attention to this product ID column. Look at this. We have sold a product with ID is equal to 3 times. That is, we sold desktop 3 times and laptop only 2 times. Only 1 time. Laptops only 1 time. And if you look at TV, we have not sold it at least once. Okay. We have sold laptop 1 time and desktop 3 times. And we did not sell TV at least once. Okay. Now let's say your manager is asking you to write a query that returns the ID, name, and description of all the product that we have not sold at least once. Now, how can we tell if we have not sold at least once a product? If you look at product sales table, if the product ID is not present there, then we can say for sure we have not sold that product at least once. Okay, so if we want to retrieve the ID, name and description, ID name and description, we want to retrieve ID name and description, of all the products that are not sold at least once, we want to retrieve all the products from this table where that ID does not exist, where that ID is not, where the ID does not exist in this column. I mean product ID column and TBL product sales table. It is as simple as that. But how do we put that in a query? So first let's write this select. What are the columns we want? We want ID name and description, but I am going to do that later. First, I am going to specify the from clause. So TBL products, and then I will specify the column in the select list because I will get IntelliSense if I specify the from clause, and we want these three columns. And we want these three columns. And we want these three columns, ID, name, and description. Look at description appear as a keyword, so I am enclose that within a square bracket. Okay, so we want these three columns where the ID not in, where the ID not in. So this ID that I am going to select the product, that is I am going to select, the ID should not be within this column. The ID should not be within this column in this TBL product sales table. Okay. So how do I specify that? I can simply say select product ID. From TBL product sales. TBL product sales table. Okay. So we are selecting in this product ID. Okay. So we are selecting in this product ID from TBL product sales table. Now if I execute this query, I mean we are selecting in this product ID from TBL product sales table. Now if I execute this, query, look at that, what I get. I get 3233. So I get all the product IDs. So instead of that, I can simply say distinct. I can simply say distinct. So what? So that will give me the distinct product that we have sold. So that will give me the distinct product that we have sold. Okay, so now we are saying select all the products where the ID not in 2 and 3, 2 and 3, which is going to give us this row with ID is equal to 1. That is TV, which we have not sold at least once. Look at that, how is it was to use this subquery here. So the query that is present inside this parenthesis is called as subquery. Subqueries are always enclosed within parentheses, and look at this subquery, it returns only one column. And look at this subquery, it returns only one column. Okay, and this column is now used in your where clause, and we are using it in this not in, and we are using this in this, and we are using it in this not in. Okay, and subqueries are also called as inner queries, and the query, this query that contains this subquery, and this query that contains this subquery is called as an outer query. Okay, now many times this subquery can actually be very easily replaced with the joins. We have discussed about joins in the previous session of this SQL Server video series. If you have not watched them, I will strongly encourage you to do so. We have discussed about all the different types of joins that are available in SQL Server. We even discuss about advanced joins, so please watch joins first. So let's write this query. So let's rewrite. Let's rewrite this query, which give us exactly the same output. So rewrite this query, which give us exactly the same output using joins. Okay, so how do we do that? Let me copy that. Let me copy this. Instead of retyping, so select all those columns from TBL products. So select all those columns from TBL products, and I am going to do an inner join. So when we do inner join, what happens? We get all the matching rows between both the tables. So I'm going to join TBL products with TBL product sales. So I'm going to join TBL products with TBL product sales table. And how do we join them in TBL products table? We have the ID column which matches with product ID in TBL product sales table. How do we join them? In TBL products table, we have the ID column. In TBL products table, we have the ID column which matches with product ID, which matches with product ID in TBL product sales table. Okay. Now, now, if I execute this query, we get all the matching rows between both the tables. Now I am actually going to get an error. Now actually I am going to get an error. That is because in both the tables we have this ID column in TBL products and TBL product sales table. That is why it is going, that is why it is saying, that is why it is saying ambiguous column name. So we have to tell it from which table we want it. So I am going to specify the table prefix. So I am going to specify the table prefix so that the query is not confused. Okay, so now if I execute this query, we get all the matching rows between both of the tables. That is not we want. So let me, this will give us all the matching rows between both the tables. That is not we want. That is not we want. We want to use a left join. We want to use a left join. Okay, when I use a left join, I get all the matching rows between both tables. So when I use left join, I get all the matching rows between both tables plus the non-matching rows, which is TV from the left table. But that is not what we want. But that is not what we want. What we want is only the non-matching rows. What we want? What we want is only the non-matching rows from the left table. Okay, so we don't want the matching rows plus non-matching rows. I mean, we only want the non-matching rows. How do we specify that? How do we specify that? Using a where clause in TBL product sales. In TBL product sales. Using a where clause. So using a where clause in TBL product sales, that product ID is null. That's mean it is going to return us the TV row. So we can easily replace that with a join as well. We can replace subquery by with a join as well. So we are using a left outer join. So we are using a left outer join here with this where clause, with where clause, which is giving us the list of all products that we have not sold at least once. Okay. So in this example, we have seen how to use a subquery within the where clause. And we also have seen how to replace that subquery using a join. Okay. Both of these query give us exactly the same output. Now let's look at another example of using subqueries. Another example of using subqueries. So write a query. So write a query to retrieve the name and total quantity sold. Now let's say I want the name of the products. So if you look at these two tables, so if you look at these two tables, that we have, I want the name of the product and the total quantity sold and the total quantity of each product that we have sold. So if you look at the quantity sold, if you look at the quantity sold, so if you look at these two tables that we have, I want the name of the product and the total quantity of each product that we have sold. So if you look at the quantity sold, how many laptops did we sell? 7 laptops. And how many desktop did we sell? 9 plus 4, 13 plus 5, 18 desktops. We have sold. Okay. TV, we have not sold any. TV, we have not sold any. So I want to retrieve the name of the product and total quantity we sold, and we want to do that using a subquery. Let's see how to do that. And in this example, we have seen how to use a subquery in the where clause. In this example, we will see how to use a subquery in the select list. Okay, so what do we want? We want the name of the product. We want the name of the product. So first let me write from TBL products table. What we want the name of the product, and then what else we want the total quantity that we have sold. Okay, so I am going to use some aggregate function. So I'm going to use some aggregate function. Okay, but then I'm going to use a subquery. So anytime we want to use a subquery, the first thing we do is we open up and close a parenthesis. And within that, we write the subquery. So select what do I want? I want sum of, what do I want? I want quantity sold. Sum of quantity sold. So first let me write the from clause so that I will get. So first let me write the from clause. So that I'll get some intelligence there. So quantity sold. So sum of quantity sold from TBL product, from TBL products table, from TBL product sales table. And then we have to use a where clause. And then we have to use a where clause where product ID, where product ID because we don't want the sum of all the products. We want to specify for which product you want. Okay. For now, I am going to use the question mark. We will fill this which is the product ID. We will fill this which is the product ID for which we want the sum of the quantity sold in just a bit. Okay. Then give this one alias as quantity sold from TBL products. Okay. Now what I am going to do here, look at this. I have this TBL products from this table. I want the name, and from this table I want the total quantity sold. Okay. So, but then when I select a product from this table, for example, when I select TV, I want to immediately come to this. For example, when I select TV, I want to immediately come to this table for all those products which has got this TV, which is nothing but the ID. But the ID is 1 for all the products, for all the products that has ID 1, sum the quantity sold and then retrieve that. And then retrieve that. I have to specify that in this, where clause. So how do I do that? Simply specify tbl products dot id. tbl products dot id. tbl product, not tbl product. Product id is equal to tbl products id. So anytime you select a product, for example, if you select this TV, for example, if you select this TV, its ID is 1. It looks up, it's look up that here. And then if there is a match, it is going to add the quantity sold and return that as quantity sold. Okay, means let's execute this query. Let's execute this query and see what we get. Look at that. So let me execute this. Look at that. 7 laptops, 18 desktop, TV, we have not sold any. And then if you order by name, if you want to order that by product name, so we can simply say order by name of the product. Okay. So here we are using a subquery inside inside a select statement. In a select list. In a select list. Okay. Let's see how to replace this again using a join. Again, that is very easy to do. Okay. So we have to know how many. So we have to know how we use group by and join here. So I'm going to copy this query. So I'm going to copy this query to save some time in typing. So select what do we want? We want the name. What do we want? We want the name of the product and we want the total quantity. So sum of quantity, sum of quantity as total quantity or quantity sold from TBL products. From TBL products and I want to do a left join with TBL product sales table. On this, the join condition is the same. And the important thing is we have to use group by. And the important thing is we have to use group by because we want to group by name. And then sum their quantity. So group by name. Okay, so we discussed about joins in the previous session of this video series. So I am not going to go into the details of join now here. So all I want to show here is we can replace subqueries. We can replace subqueries with joins. Okay, look at that. I get the same output. Look at that. I get the same output. Okay, desktop 18, laptop 7, and TV is null. Similarly, the same output here. Similarly, the same output here. 18.7 null. So most of the time, the subqueries can be very easily replaced with joins. Okay, so today we have seen how to use a subquery. So today we have seen how to use a subquery in the where clause. And how to use a subquery in the select clause. And how to use a subquery in the select clause. Subqueries are always subqueries subqueries are always. So what are subqueries? From these examples, it should be very it should be very clear that it should be very clear that a subquery is simply a select statement that returns a single value and that can be nested within a select, update, insert, or delete statements. We have seen how to nest a subquery inside a select list. We have seen how to nest a subquery inside a select list. And inside the where clause, similarly, we can, have that in a delete or in an update statement or even in an insert statement. It is also possible to nest. It is also possible to nest a subquery inside another subquery. So here we have a subquery. So here we have a subquery. Okay, now you have a where clause. Now you have a where clause. Here, so here you can have another subquery. Here you can have another subquery if you wish to. Okay, so a subquery can contain another subquery. That query can contain another subquery. So this way we can nest subqueries. We can nest subqueries up to 32 level according to MSDN. And subqueries are always enclosed and subqueries are always enclosed in parentheses, and we have seen that and are also called as inner queries, and the query containing the subquery is called as outer query. The columns from a table, the column from a table that is present only inside a subquery cannot be used in the select list of the outer query. This is important again. So we have the subquery here. So we have the subquery here. For example, if you look at this one, this is subquery. This is subquery. Now, if you look at this TBL product sales table, this table appear only within this subquery. Within this subquery. Now, if you look at the product sales table, this table appears only within this query. Now, if you look at this TBL product sales table, this table appears only within this subquery. Now, if you look at the product sales table, it has got another column as well. It has got another column as well. For example, unit price that comes from TBL product sales table. But this product sales table is present only inside this subquery. Within the opening and closing of that parenthesis. Now, can I use the columns from this table? Now, can I use the column from this table in the select list of the outer query? In the select list of the outer query, can I use, or can I try to retrieve unit price? Can I try to retrieve unit price column from this TBL products, from this TBL product sales table that appears only in a subquery? No, you cannot. If you try to do that, you get an error. Okay, invalid column name. Invalid column name, unit price. So the columns from a table, So the column from a table that is present only inside a subquery cannot be used in the select list of the outer query. Now we have seen that we can achieve the same result either by using a subquery or joins. Now we have seen that we can achieve the same result either by using subquery or joins. Okay. So when we have these choices, so when we have these choices, then what to choose for performance? Subqueries or joins? Okay. We will talk about the performance aspect in the next video. Next video session. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.